Zach, the broader conversation around you, which has been had in the industry at the moment, where we casually move players wherever we feel they should go, is go and be happy somewhere else. Are you aware of that conversation?
Yeah, I don't live under a rock. I'm certainly aware of that.
Are you just absolutely unequivocally putting that to bed and saying that's just made up, that stuff?
Yeah, I'm all in. I'm contracted for 2 more years. I'm the captain of the footy club. I've got so much trust in Brad and what he's doing, and I really want to see that through and that plan through. The strategy is a bit longer than I probably would hopefully have liked when I signed 4 years ago, but I think it's pretty clear now that these kids are coming through, and yeah, I want to taste that ultimate success with the footy club.
He's living a reality on repeat, Zach Merrett, as if it's not blind faith, and in life you make the same choice over and over again. And again, we look to Zach to see, does he still believe in the Essendon dream?
July the 15th, that was, Jared. The answer he gave, I believe, but the answer can change. And what else was he going to say if he was thinking ultimately in season? Yes, of course. So I work with Tim Watson, one of the all-time greats. Couldn't even contemplate losing Zach Merrett. And that's when, you know, if there is there's not a crisis, but there is challenges. And if that was to unfold, that'd be a disaster for the Bombers.
Yep. So he's the bellwether. Does he still believe?
Does he choose to say, hey, I'll put my flag in the ground here and let's get on with it?
We'll find out soon enough.
Now, on Essendon, Jono, we know that they've missed the finals and plenty happening on and off the field there. You've got some details about why they were so tentative on the Sam Draper deal.
Let's face it, no matter what they say, Sam Draper is gone and they know it. So for all the gnashing of teeth, the Dons very much gave him an offer that he could refuse. Eventually they did lift it from a modest term. Eventually they again lifted it from 4 years to 5. They've done their research on all of the AFL players who've had Achilles issues, ruckman, key position players, players across world sport. So many of them have just not recovered well. The prognosis is not great. Repeat, calf tears. Some lose their power, some their durability. Draper, to his credit, is a jumper, not a wrestler. And so if the AFL brings in these new rules about the centre square, that would normally advantage him. But how's he going to go having already had osteitis pubis, having also done an ACL early in his career? So eventually they got to that 5-year deal, but they also know that if he moves on and goes to Brisbane, they probably get a first-round compensation pick within the top 10. They've also got 2 second-rounders, and so they could get 5 picks within the top 25. Matty Innes is expected to be announced as their new fitness boss, the former West Coast boss. That would be imminent. So they think that's a circuit breaker for a lot of their issues. But, yeah, Scotty, I don't think they tried that hard to keep Sam Draper.
No, I think Sam Draper's gone, but there's a few other issues as well.
Well, there are. So Sam spoke today and basically said that they're still working through it, which is never a good sign. There's a lot of water to go under the bridge. But you've got a piece in tomorrow's newspapers and on codesports.com.au delving in to Essendon a little bit and I guess the wider concerns. Tell us about it.
Well, unfortunately, it's a bit of Groundhog Day. This club, it's happening again. Repeats the word I use a lot during this article. So they've had to sell the vision to Zach Merrett, who's been mentioned again. 12 months earlier, they had to sit down with him and say, Zach, you're our captain, please stay, we're going to come well. They've had to do it again. When Brad Scott came in, this is the thing the players are not happy about. He came in and spoke, we've got to teach you to be professionals. They're not providing a professional environment at the moment for these players. So Jordan Ridley, Kyle Langford, all these guys, Darcy Parish, what's happened with their injuries and their training facilities and their program? All these players are going, hang on, is this the best environment for me? And they've got every right, as Zach is, although we don't think he's going to leave, but clearly other players are looking at what's happened and where their career's at and what this environment. And then there's a wider narrative about...
You talked about communication today, and that's the piece, the part of that story that made me think that's interesting.
Well, the wider narrative, this club has historic problems in there. They bring in outsiders, which is CEO Craig Vozzo, Brad Scott, outside the Essendon bubble to try and change it. And they're 3 years in and he's gone 11th, 11th, 15th. And, you know, it's hard for them to break this mould that's in Essendon. It's a real cultural issue. And at the moment, they're facing the same thing they faced 12 months ago.
Yeah, and here's the issue, in that they're thinking long-term when the players who are maybe considering their futures are saying, why are we so risk-averse? Why are we going back to the draft? So Essendon would say, we have nailed the 2 drafts that Matt Rosa, the list boss, has had at his disposal. But the players would say, look at the people that the clubs above us on the ladder. Sydney wants Curnow. Port Adelaide had a great crack at Naz Wanganeen and Millera. The Dogs want Silvagni. Everyone's having a crack and we're going back to the draft again. So there are a couple of players on that list who have won a final as Essendon, who are on the Essendon list, but none of them actually who were drafted by Essendon. You know, Goldstein, 18 years in, Dylan Shield, who's just been sacked. And so I think what the player managers would say is that, you know, you keep talking about the long term, but there are a lot of players that would say, I'm probably never going to win a final at the Essendon Football Club. Would you feel sorry? Would you, of course I'm looking at my future. Of course I'm looking at other clubs.
Yeah, especially when it's been such a long period, as you say, Scotty. There's just so much to unpick over an extended period there. Now, speaking of Sam Draper, the prices are exponentially rising, aren't they, for free agents? There's been plenty made of that, but you're sounding the alarm, John.
Well, I just wonder if this is what the players thought they were going to sign up for when they brought in free agency 12 or 15 years ago. So Silvagni, Draper, Oscar Allen, all big deals, all been offered $850 plus. Now, it might be that Silvagni goes for the Western Bulldogs for slightly less than that. So all power to them. Here's the research I did today. So consider the lack of top 10 best and fairest for all of these players. And so if you look at it here, Draper, his best result is, I think it's 13th or 14th. He's never finished top 12 in the best and fairest. So Jack Silvagni, one top 10. Oscar Allen, of course, a second and also a 10th. But right now he's a very diminished player. And so I don't blame the players in any way for taking that cash. But this was not what free agency was about, was it?
Well, the great Mike Sheen, when I started in this great game, said always pay, club best and fairest give you a fair guide of where the people are rated. Some are, above than they should be. But that is damning for those three guys. I mean, I know the figures and the long contracts is an issue, but this isn't what free agent. As you said, we didn't want this to be inflating the prices of not the top level. So good on them. Mm-hmm. They're in the right place at the right time. But wowee, that's damning evidence.
It's concerning, isn't it? I mean, a lot's been made about St Kilda as well, potentially pouring so much of their salary cap into the likes of Nazira and Tom De Koning. But they're also emerging as a front runner, of course, for Jack Silvagni, who was mentioned there in that table. Obviously, his dad is at the helm of the list department there, Scotty. I mean, it raises the natural question, though, doesn't it? Is there a conflict of interest there?
Well, of course there is. We've been down this track before. That's half the reason Stephen left Carlton. It became too much of an issue building about his two sons on the list. Now, Jack's a good player, we know that. But how's Callum Wilkie, who's already raised concerns and then denied them, but we know he did, about Tom De Koning coming in? Well, Callum's on about 800, 900 or something. Jack Silvagni comes in on the same money, maybe even more. And he's got every right to go, hang on, your dad brought you in on that money. Now the St Kilda will say, Stephen's sitting out of the meetings, he's got nothing to do with it. Come on, I mean...
So what are you doing? If you're Ross Lyon, are you saying, no, we are not having Jack Silvagni because it will be deleterious to our list because, our list boss might have to sit out of a meeting or two?
I'm saying you have to tread very carefully, and there's precedents where this hasn't worked. You can step out of meetings which no one believes. I mean, Sauce actually controls the money. He's got it all on whiteboards, and suddenly his son is front and centre. And he's going to come over the top of people who have been there on more money. It's not Jack's fault, I get it. But I would avoid this situation if I was St Kilda.
Massive conflict. But if I'm St Kilda, I don't care. I'm saying, you know what? We want to get better. There might be some players who might whinge. Let's give Cal Wilkie another $150,000 to shut him up because he's one of the very few players who deserves that money. The rest of them on that list, you take the money we've given you, you play great football, and if you finish top three in the best and fairest, then we'll think about a pay rise.
If I'm one of those players, I'm going for an interview next year with Sauce and go, well, you gave your son this, why don't you give me a couple more years?
Especially Wilkie. I mean, everyone's touting him as the next captain of the club, of course.